Okay. All right, this is game 2 of BLG versus T1. This is another VOD review, and this is the middle. I'm not sure if I'm going to actually get through all of them today, so we're just going to immediately go back into the pick ban. And so, again, we're just going to talk about things. So right out the gate, really weird to be banning. Really weird to be banning, Wukong, really weird to be banning Gwen, really weird to be banning Vi. I disagree with all 3 bans. Reason that I disagree with all 3 bans is because you can draft in a way that either restricts one of them from actually being able to be picked, which is the Gwen, just outright. You can draft in a way where she's just not viable. She can't come in on R5. She's not going to come in on like R3. She's not going to randomly come in on like R4 blind or something like that, so you don't have to worry. She's not really going to come in on like R1, R2, right? I think that would be very, very bad. The other thing is like early rotated Wukongs on, R1, R2. I don't think that you have to worry about that. The enemy ends up banning like Annie and stuff like that, so I don't think you can make the argument about, Annie Wukong or something as like an R1, R2 punch or something that you have to worry about. So just out the gate, I think all of these champions are really poor themed. I've already discussed this. I've already talked about it. I would rather play against it than any of that, especially if you get Wise Mystical Tree. Now, we talked about this in game number 1, so I think that it's totally fine. Now, if you do want to ban any of them, it would be the Wukong, but definitely not the Gwen, definitely not the Ahri. Okay, so opening with Maokai, Wise Mystical Tree. So Wise Mystical Tree, totally fine. He does have flex potency up into top lane. This is obviously T1 on the left-hand side. And so with T1 on the left-hand side, they open Maokai. Now, BLG opens with Jinx and Lulu. This is perfect. Now, the reason that this is perfect, let me open up another drafting. Okay. So let me open another drafting. All right. So we go Maokai, and then they go Jinx, and they go Lulu. So at this point, yes, you can go, obviously, Aphelios, which, I guess that is what you want. And I think that, that's totally fine. You can absolutely go Aphelios, and you can play that way. And you can go about it. But what I think you should do is, since Lulu cannot be flexed, and you have Maokai, you can just go Blitzcrank here. And I think that when you go Blitzcrank here, you have Blitzcrank Maokai. Now, not only is this absolutely disgusting at level 6, because Jinx and Lulu literally cannot walk up in the lane, because Maokai can just approach from river, and when they approach from river... Let me actually try to find you guys the game. I think it was G2, right? G2 versus BLG. Let me try to find this exact moment. Is there a Blitzcrank game? I think this is it. Let me try to find you the exact snippet. There's an exact moment in this game. Let me go to Maokai level 6. All right, guys, let's all take a look here at On's counterplay. Let's take a look here, On's counterplay. Oh. So we're going to go Aphelios and Blitzcrank right here on B2, B3. And we're not going to have any more questions. That is literally just going to be it. We're going to have this combo throughout the entire game. We're going to reserve this for mid-game, late game, and early game. Dragon, Baron, everything standoffs forever. And it also is now going to limit the options that they have on R3, R4, and R5, because they don't want to pick champions that are prone to Blitzcrank. Amazing. We're now limiting their options of champions that they can pick that are very weak to Blitzcrank. So what we're doing is we're doing something called a pinch. Right? That is what we're doing. We're also not revealing a lot about our draft. What does T1 do? They pick Nautilus. Why? I don't know. I hate it. Now, the logic might be for T1, that they want to pick the Nautilus, and then they want to use the Nautilus as a flex pick. And then the Scion comes in on R3, and the logic is that the Scion is a multi-flex between mid lane and top lane for Bin and Yagao. And the logic is that the Nautilus is a flex pick between Faker and Keria, and then they can use that to try to get some bans out, which they did. They get the Blitzcrank ban, and they get the Tristana ban, in the event that the Tristana would end up getting picked mid by Faker, and then the Kindred ends up getting picked here. So at this point, it's all doomed. So T1 draft is already really bad. Now, the reason that the T1 draft is really bad is because when you pick the Nautilus, you're now running into the Jinx, you're running into the Lulu. There's like, it's going to be very, very hard to pivot out of this no matter what, because you don't have a way to rip them out of this. You're now engaging. The Blitzcrank brings them into you, right? The Blitzcrank is always the RNG factor. He's the coin flip. He's the experimental frenzy, right? He's the RNG factor, right? When you have the snare from the Maokai, when you have, the Gravitum from the Aphelios, the Moonlight Vigil, etc., you have options, right? You can create a lot of chaos. You have the variance inside of the laning phase, etc. The Nautilus isn't engaged, and I don't really care about the flex, etc. When the Scion ends up coming in, when you don't have these options now, you are legitimately running into the Jinx 100% of the time, and you now are always mid-range. Blitzcrank does not always make you mid-range. Because again, he is just a hook, he brings the target to you, okay? Nautilus brings you to them, and if Nautilus is support, you're really squishy. Doesn't matter that Blitzcrank is really squishy, Nautilus is just really squishy, and if Nautilus is like a mid laner, yeah, sure, he's a little bit tanky, but it doesn't matter if Aphelios has a support, because now you have, you have Nautilus mid, and then Aphelios has a support, and then you have a Maokai, it doesn't really matter. You're just going to end up losing. So when the Kindred ends up coming in on R4, now they have Jinx and they have Jinx Kindred with Lulu Scion. They have a really good wall with an Enchanter for double AD carry versus a wall, a meat shield, and then an Enchanter, but they have the better AD carry. And now Kindred's Lamb's Respite actually has really good value. This is very different than the Kindreds that we actually saw earlier on in the MSI tournament that didn't have actually really good value outside of like just her ultimate, because the conditions in those drafts were different, where the carry threats were not as good, where the carry threats were actually dependent on the Kindred. The carry threat is not dependent on the Kindred here. The carry is already the Jinx. The Jinx is already saying, I will outcarry the enemy right now. You just have to protect me. So Kindred's like, oh, okay. Well, I can also carry, but I don't have to just carry, which is great. Now Kindred has a lot of value. She has a lot of utility. And now she's able to fulfill many other types of roles. Whereas if Kindred had Aphelios and she was facing Jinx, it is a different world. So if you take these two champions and you swap them, this is a different ball game. This is a totally different game. You need to reach Jinx now. You can't reach Jinx. Kindred can't reach Jinx. Aphelios can't reach Jinx. So because you guys can't reach Jinx and Jinx outranges you, you guys are on a timer, because eventually Jinx will reach 3.5, 4 items, and then you guys are going to be the ones that are screwed unless Kindred gets to like 7 marks and you guys are stacking dragons. This is the difference in the team compositions due to Jinx's superior range. Wow, amazing theme concepts. So this is just like trading card games, true control versus control, okay? This is exactly what's going on here. So the Nautilus is an absolutely terrible pick by T1 because it sets them up for failure and it makes their team composition a mid-range draft that sets them up for just doom and limits future options for them. BLG ends up going Scion, perfect situation for their Jinx. Their Jinx is already threatening to outscale the Aphelios. The Jinx is the build-around champion. It's the archetype. It's the defining card of their deck. The Kindred comes in, and it's an amazing pick. So now, if you're T1 and the Kindred ends up coming in here, I actually don't even know, like, realistically what they're actually even supposed to do genuinely in a spot like this. If I'm actually thinking of what they can possibly do here, wow, it is so doomed. It is genuinely so doomed. What can you actually do Because they have counter pick R5. Kindred R shuts down so many jungle possibilities. Wow. It's so doomed. Wow, it's so doomed. It's so doomed. Okay. I can't. Nah, I actually, I really cannot think, because of R5, I genuinely can't think of what to do. I really, really can't think of what to do. The only things that I'm like thinking of are like Zap. No, you can't even do that. Wow, it's so bad. So you can't even like Braum. You can't even try to Braum because they already have Lulu, right? So you can't even try to move Nautilus into mid lane. You can't do that. You actually can't move Nautilus mid. That's like one of the problems here. I mean, you also can't. Sona. You can't even Sona because you can't get another hyper. Is there a hyper you can? No, but then they just put Scion mid. But I guess if you match the Vayne. No, but then that's bad, man. It's bad. Nah, that's bad. That's bad. That's bad. That's bad. That's not good. That's not good. There's no way. There's no way that's good. Yeah, you just can't. You can't get another hyper. You can't. But then you're running into... T1's draft is so... Dude, the Nautilus is so... Wow, I'm stun locked. I'm trying to like... I'm trying to theme answer that doesn't allow an R5 to just sway it back to red side. You guys gotta understand that's what's going on right now. I'm trying to make it so that R5 can't sway it back to red. And I can't find a solution. Because most solutions I'm coming up with, I can make it so that blue is ahead again on B4, B5. That's fine. I can make it so that we're winning on B4, B5. Like that's whatever, okay? We can make it so that we're winning before b5. The problem is that then I can just counter again r5 and red's ahead again. So the issue is that I need to make it so that we find 2 picks together that somehow punishes the current existing champions on red. And I don't know what that combination of champions is, if it even exists. Is it Sona Fiora? Is this just it? Is it just Sona Fiora? Is this the only hope? But I don't think this is it. Is it Casio? But then you're still running in. No, this can't be it. Nah, this can't be it. Still lose. I mean, obviously, they're never going to play Anivia. Like, I understand. I understand they're never going to play Anivia. I understand. Syndra. I mean, they'd play Syndra, right? Like, I mean, Syndra's possible, no? But, like... it's so hard. Anyways, okay. So anyways, T1 has played. I'm sorry. I know that was very hold on, I got a cacao talk. See if this is Mr. Okay, it's not Mr. Marsh. Okay. All right, let's see. All right, so anyways, they go Jace Cannon, and then obviously Silas comes in on R5. Now, the thing about Silas also, and this is different with the Blitzcrank, again, leading back to the B3 Blitzcrank, is the Silas on R5 also has another really good ultimate now, thanks to the Nautilus. He has Cannon, and he has Maokai, so 2 really, really, really good ultimates. So this is just a absolute draft kingdom by BLG. It's massive. Their champions are all tankier. Their champions' inherent base abilities are just more valuable. The only way that this game can be won is through massive, massive lane kingdom. Literally every lane. You get the first 2 dragons, you get both heralds, and then somehow you also win 3rd dragon fight. That's how you win the game. That is literally how you win the game. So you need to win all 3 lanes simultaneously. So you need to win bot lane, mid lane, and top lane simultaneously. You need to win Herald, 2nd Herald, 1st Drake, 2nd Drake, and 3rd Drake, roll a good soul, and then still get Baron, get soul, and then push. Because if Jinx gets to 3 items, you will lose this game. You need to do all of that. All of that. Now, what is practical about that? Can Silas with Kindred go even against Jace with Maokai? Yes. Silas can go down a little bit, yes. So, is it likely that Jace can dominate Silas to the extent that we just said Jace must dominate Silas? No, I do not think that that is practical. Okay. All right, so let's rule out the mid lane domination. Okay. Mid or top lane, Kennen versus Sion. Can Kennen dominate Sion to the point where Kennen is just eons ahead of Sion and there's nothing that Sion can do? We have seen Kennen versus Sion so many times. So many iterations of this matchup over the years. Now, obviously, yes, I understand what actually happened today. But we know how the matchup normally does play out and how it can play out. And we also saw what happened in this game with the Sion level 1 and stuff. No, that is not a practical assumption. Can Lulu and Jinx go even versus Jinx, Aphelios Nautilus? Yes, they can. Yes, they absolutely can. Okay, so then is the assertion that T1 will do all of the aforementioned things in order to convert their draft into that early mid-game transformative, game states, and then close the game out? Is that practical, or is it a likely thing that's going to happen over 50% of the time? No, it's not. Okay, then BLG has a very big draft edge. Okay, cool, great. All right, let's go into the game. All right. Is this the new jungle? Patch maybe 13.11 or something, or what? These are the new camps, something. What are these? What are these? What are these? These changes. What are these? All right. So, Faker, Gathering Storm on Jace, based. Okay. Water Walking. Treasure Hunter, Taste of Blood on Kennen. All fine. Okay. Call Start on Jinx. D-Blade on Aphelios. Okay. So, Keria actually takes some damage, level 1. Now, he does get the ward, or they get the ward. Now, they share the ward as 2. Now, important thing to know about sharing the ward as 2. This means that the first 6 minions will now level up whoever gets the first 6 minions. Anyone who plays mid or top lane knows this. When you start Sweeper Lens and you get the first wave, you will hit level 2. Now, Faker also starts D-Blade. Okay, so we've seen this a lot. Wolves into immediately pathing over. Keria and Guma, they try to leash the red, they pull it over. Shun starts the golems. And take a look at what Elka's doing. He's shoving the wave into the turret immediately. Guma comes over, he tries to last hit the golems. He's trying to interrupt anything that he can. Now Keria catches the whole wave at the turret and he dings level 2. This is a really big deal. Because he gets both hook and he gets shield. Or he gets the slow, whichever one he opts for, depending on situation. Now, Shun gets the zoning tool on Kindred. Okay. Now, Kennen actually misses 4 out of the first 12 minions completely uninterrupted, by the way. He misses 4 out of 12. Or, he gets 8 out of 12. In a completely free lane. Completely free. 8 out of 12. Okay, look, I just uploaded a video on YouTube yesterday. Okay, I was missing 17 out of 19. All right. Trying to get perfect on the first 3. Look, even pros, the best in the world, okay? The best in the world, all right? 8 out of 12. All right, he has call and adaptive rooms, all right? But anyways, okay, 8 out of 12. Not a big deal, not a big deal. All right, based Faker, 12 out of 12. Okay, so all in all, a pretty good start. All in all, a pretty good start. All right, so now lane state, totally fine. Zeus had the weight. Now, this is actually, I think this is bad. Now, let's actually talk about what's bad here. So, Zeus actually crashes 2. Now, this is where actually I think the mistake is. He crashes 2. Now, 3 hits the turret at 231. So, 231, 231, cannon hits this turret. So I think what he should have done is he should have pulled 3, and then he should have pulled 4 and 5. Okay. So yeah, so obviously this is 3, right? And then 4 would hit at 301. Okay. And then 5 would hit at 331. So I think that he should have pulled 3, 4, and 5. And that would actually put Sion in a really bad situation. Now, the reason that this would have been a lot better to pull 3 is because immediately after all this concludes, what do you guys think is going to happen? Kindred is going to go and try to path top. Maokai must path top. So why is Kennen still trying to shove? Pull 3, 4, 5. Maokai is pathing top. Jace can maintain prio. Maokai, Kennen can both move to Crab while pulling wave. Level advantage over Sion. How does Sion play? Now, one of the logics might be that you just want to keep shoving and then just get it anyway. But obviously you can actually deny a lot more just by pulling and then denying more EXP that way. But still, I mean, it's very strange. Now, obviously, we know the result of this game, Bin misses a lot. All right, let's go to X2. All right. So, Owner, moving up immediately. Faker, really good control. And now Owner's able to do this because of what Zeus is doing. Okay, so because Zeus keeps shoving, Owner doesn't have to move into his blue. He can actually go for Kindred's red. Now, if Zeus was pulling his wave, he would go for his blue. Now, Kindred, cheater, rolls Mark on right-hand side. Now, this is also really greedy. Faker was hovering left side, which is correct because that's where Owner is. Now, I do want to say that this is really unfortunate. Shun should flash right away. He actually waits to flash, and then because of that, Zeus is able to get there. This could have been catastrophic, could have been game-ending, okay? So, because they actually chase, Bin is too late to get there, they get a double kill. This is really, really, really lucky. Now, if Shun flashed right away, this would not have happened. If Shun flashed right away, Faker is ruined. Faker's lane state in mid lane, it's over. Faker's lane state over. Zeus's pressure, ruined. Owner is ruined in the jungle. Jun will end up getting Scuttle Crab. Jun's camp saved, right? Everything here, super good for BLG. Everything is just going amazing. Look at bot lane. Call 25 stacks, massive wave on Elk, crashing into Guma. Everything going super, super good. BLG, super far ahead if this is what happens. But T1 get a miracle. Okay. Zeus just trying to clear out whatever he can with the wave. Again, really, really, really lucky for T1 that this went the way that it did. Just a very, 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 very large overchase. This was really greedy as well. Faker, I mean, I don't know exactly what Faker's trying to do because we're not seeing mid-wave. So one of the things that's weird here is it looks like he got a crash and then he goes for a control word, I guess. And he goes for a control word. And then he comes back and the wave's coming back in, but he immediately tries to trade on Yagao. And then here, he knows Yagao doesn't have flash, and he knows Jun doesn't have flash. But then he holds his flash because he doesn't have TP, and then he dies. It's really greedy. And then they know about Maokai. So Yagao shoves in the wave. Take a look at the CS diff in top lane. Zeus gets a plate. Okay. I don't know why Owner came up, like, looking for anything. And then right there, Elk almost got the cancel on Guma. Would have been really, really, really big. Okay. And then right here, I mean, he's soloing the Rift Herald. And I mean, again, they do need early game accelerant because right now they're very far behind. This type of early game advantages where the gold is just like on Maokai, it doesn't mean anything. I mean, the Hextech Dragon is just so big. The only reason that Kennen has like these two plates as well is because of the opening on the Scion and then that early game invade. Elk is just doing, you know, and then the Zapper. Oh, so painful. Really good Bramble Smash. So, I mean, you just take a look at how far ahead this Kennen is over the Scion. He's literally up 1,700 gold at 9.5 minutes. They have the Herald. So pause. Everyone pause. Let's all pause. Okay. Your Kennen is this far ahead. Now, I think most people would argue that Kennen is a defining piece to the T1 engage. Okay. So, your defining piece to the engage, your AoE, is this big. The enemy's tank is non-existent. Sion's passive is so... I mean, it's anorexic. It's not there. It is completely absent. Okay. So the enemy does not have a tank, and your AoE engaged champion is disgustingly large in this game state. And your Wise Mystical Tree is your like your most fed champion. Okay. This is your early game. And you're still behind. Okay. So what do you actually need when you draft these champs? What's actually gone wrong so far? Okay, we're at 10 minutes. Let's pause. Let's pause for a second. We have an 1,800 gold lead on our Electric Rat. Our Wise Mystical Tree is super big, and we have Herald. Our mid laner, despite getting a really lucky 2 assists, dying once, sure, has a very, very slight CS lead. I think Silas has some minions in front of him, but not too much is actually happening because that's actually the dynamic of the lane. Bot lane is behind, yes, sure. But even if Aphelios and Jinx were like even right now, the game is actually not okay. So, again, this just brings us back in time 10 minutes, and it's sort of like, what are we doing? And then unpause. Now, this rotation is also really bad. So the reason this rotation is really bad is this allows Gumayusi back into the game. Maokai just got the Rift Herald, and they were notified that Maokai got the Rift Herald. So after Maokai gets the Rift Herald, you can actually assume that he's going to reset and that he's going to path bottom. So when he resets in path bottom, why does Elkin on path top lane to get the turret plates in top lane? But then in addition to that, why does Bin stay top to share the plates with Elk, who's their most fed champion? Now, Gumayusi, who's really far behind Elk, gets back into the game because Owner moves bottom, summons the Rift Herald, and gives him all of the plates, and they get him the turret. Gumayusi back into the game. T1, 2,000 gold lead, and yet the game's still pretty even. All right. Gumayusi, Elk, hand in hand. Radiant Virtue there on the Maokai. I do like that, you know, he is just going pure tank. That was really unfortunate. The minion. Really good Bramble Smash, obviously. Very unfortunate death by Zeus there. Obviously, he should never be walking up. And then this was really good. And you can just see at the top right, ultimate almost available. Kindred's just moving towards the golem. 600 gold is the advantage. I mean, BLG are just light years ahead, by the way. Okay, let's pause again. How does T1's team composition advance the game state? Can they siege? No. Okay. Do they outrange BLG? Only Jace does. Okay. But Jace can only do that on a limited cooldown, and his damage is actually not that high right now. Okay. Can they split push? No, not really. Because bottom turret is also down, and there's no real objectives up, Kennen also can't be on that side of the map, which means that Sion is actually going to start getting more CS than Kennen can get. And this is because the map is now more condensed for BLG than it is for T1. I've tried to actually think about more articulate ways to describe this because I realized that I failed to do this when having this argument with Crowny the other day, because it was something that I realized Crowny wasn't understanding, but I know that in RTSs, it's like a thing that makes sense, where you can start to recoup resources quicker, or like you can start to reclaim things quicker than the opponent because you have less ground to traverse, sort of, or like you have less things to like sort of worry about, or you have less to like invest into, and all this other stuff. But like basically, as more time passes, Kennen has to worry about more and has to bounce and go between more things because he has less freedom. And Sion will slowly just start recovering and salvaging the deficit between him and Kennen. Because the game state is stable. Now, if the game state wasn't stable, if it was still chaotic, this would not necessarily occur. But yeah. Now, Sylas in bot lane. 1,000 gold lead. And again, there's no way to accelerate game state. Now, the way to accelerate game state for either team in a way, technically, is actually freezing. But again, no one's going to freeze. And I have stopped talking about freezing because it's sickening to literally, like, I actually don't even know. I don't even know a comparison. It's sickening to literally describe math or champion movement speed and all these other types of things, and then still just I don't know. I'm actually, wow, I'm getting stun locked to actually just even remembering the arguments I was dealing with. But yeah, I mean, we still see it sometimes, right? But not intentionally. Okay, Ocean Drake coming up. All right. And now, okay, T1, they clear out the minion wave in mid. They get themselves the Raptors. And okay, wave gets shoved in. And T1, they teleport up to top lane. BLG, they just get themselves the Ocean. They know that they can't fight. Okay. So, T1 knows that they can't fight right now. All right. Why can't you fight right now? What is so bad? Wait. What is so bad about this game position? What's so bad? Your cannon has full item. Your cannon's up 40 CS. Maokai has Radiant. Is it just that Jinx has Gale Force, but it's on cooldown? So Jinx just really has stats on Aphelios. I mean, I would argue that Nautilus actually has more value than Lulu right now. Like, easily, yeah. Jace has more value than... Well, not really actually more value than Sylas. I would say they're pretty even. Why can't we fight right now? What would be the problem for why we know that we can't fight? Now, obviously, this is rhetorical, right? Everyone watching this live right now, you guys know that this is rhetorical. The way that this is rhetorical is because T1 is aware that BLG's champions' inherent base value is actually superior to theirs. Okay. If this is the case, if despite your Kennen being this far ahead of the enemy top laner, and despite your mid laner still being, like, ahead of the enemy mid, and your jungler being ahead of the enemy jungler, and your AD carry, like, relatively, like, I mean, yeah, it's behind, but again, the Gale Force is on cooldown of the enemy Jinx and your support. What's actually going on? What kind of an early game do you actually need to look for? And again, I'm just pausing and pointing this out because it goes all the way back to the very beginning. Because the choices that we are consciously making, they come from somewhere, and that is, you know, if we don't actually question those things, then we're doomed to repeat them. Anyways. Yagao now getting bottom. Let me pull up something really quickly. Let me pull up something. I'm gonna actually I'm gonna compare this to League of Legends really quickly. So it's a really beautiful quote. Let me pull this up really quick. Does tie in. Wow, he tweets a lot. Oh my god. Oh my lord, he tweets a lot. Here we go. Sending select hands. Okay, sending select hands to coaches or sharing them with your group of study buddies is not the way. If you think the hand is close enough to ask about, the options are probably similar in expected value. Your biggest leaks are the plays you aren't even questioning. Okay? Now, obviously, what this refers to is that the biggest leaks are the ones that you aren't even perceiving as actually leaks, right? And in this regard, what I'm trying to actually say is we are 16 minutes into the game, and if you ask T1 where the leak is, they might point to something 2 minutes ago, 3 minutes ago, 4 minutes ago. I'm trying to point to 16 minutes ago, over and over and over. And it's really weird because when I try to do that, people will say cope, but I think that it is the very basis of where the leak is, because the foundation for the idea starts there. And the sun is coming up as I say this. Anyways, okay. Okay, so gold score totally even. Cloud Dragon is very fortunate for T1 because it's not a very threatening dragon to, potentially lose third. Again, game state is very stable. Now, the really good thing about seeing the stable game states in these series is you get to really see draft honesty. You get to really see a lack of progression in the game state. You get to see drafts come to fruition. You get to see lack of, ability to transform the map state. You get to see a lot of things, and you get to talk about a lot of things in that regard. And we can just see BLG don't need to do anything. Look at Scion's CS deficit relative to Kennen as well. Look at Scion's CS deficit relative to Kennen. After he gets this whole wave. He is down 20 right now. He's down 20. Okay? Scion was down 50 earlier. He's now down 20. The reason this happens is because the map state becomes more condensed. And once it becomes more condensed and less chaotic, it becomes easier for Scion to keep farming. And yes, Kennen's eventually going to go to a side lane and he'll start getting farm and stuff like that. But eventually this pattern will keep, continuing and stuff like this. But again, this circles back to T1's inability to understand war of attrition and, suffocating, side lanes and things like this. Like, it's not even just T1, it's teams in general, right? But anyways, I just wanted to point this out. I thought that was an interesting point that we brought up earlier that we could talk about right now. But anyways, yes, BLG, they do not have to team fight. They don't need to do anything because they are outscaling. Every minute that the game passes, their champions get inherently stronger. They gain more options. They get tankier. Their champions' base stats become worth more than their opponents. All of this becomes better and better. Lulu gets better and better. Lulu's items become more valuable than Nautilus's. All of this is just great. Kindred gets more marks, right? I mean, probably not like too much more, but she'll probably get to 4, right? Which is a nice little break point. I think it's fantastic that the gold, the gold scores are even. This is all good. Silas just letting the Rod of Ages tick. Oh, just steal away a camp. No one can progress the game state. No one can really do anything. Now, the only thing that could happen would be freezes, but neither team is going to freeze. Neither team will freeze right now. Now, T1 knows they can't actually team fight. They will lose a team fight. They will absolutely lose a team fight, which is hilarious. Now, this is also really weird. You see the needlessly large rod in Kennen's inventory, and you would hope that he's just going to go death cap, right? But when you press tab and, you know, you see, okay, you see, you know, null magic mantle, you see protein shake, you know, mercs, right? Silas's base MR, you know, the fact that Lulu is eventually going to get like Mikhail's and stuff like that. It's just really weird, I think, to go like Shadow Flame. Everyone's going to have so many shields and stuff, like, or not shields. Everyone's going to have so much HP and everything to chew through, and I think Shadow Flame is yeah, it's weird. Very, very, very weird. Also, there's no rush. 3 minutes? The difference between Shadow Flame and Deathcap with 3 minutes? Kennen's GPM right now? Kennen's GPM, you can get Deathcap. Let's go Deathcap and then go Void Staff at that point. Should never be Shadow Flame in a game like this. They all have MR. By the way, so take a look at this fight. Look at how much better Silas is as a champion. It's not even close. Now, I don't mean Silas is always just like in a vacuum better than the Kennen. I just mean Silas has so much to chew through. Kennen can't do it. T1 needs such a miracle dream engage. Because again, Kindred has Lamb's Respite, right? Lamb's Respite. You know, how does T1 fight? Jace can't actually poke. There's no poke Jace is doing. Who's helping him? What's the follow-up on Maokai's R? What's the follow-up on Nautilus pressing R? How do they get flank teleport wards for Kennen? They can't. Maokai's saplings don't deal any damage. Lulu's shields are like just Scion shields tank them. Now Scion has fallen behind again in CS. And this would obviously be because this is the part of the game where carries are obviously going to be allocated more gold. But it was interesting in the mid game to see the CS deficit end up being recovered. Now there's this turtle happening here in mid lane. And there's Cloud Soul. It's just an immovable wall there. I mean, now this was beautiful. Now, again, there was... look at this. This is a 4v5. This is beautiful by Shun. Doing the Cloud Dragon. No one can reach Jinx. Keria tries to go in. There's no follow-up, by the way, onto... I mean, no one can reach Elk. It's a 4v5. They lose a 4v5. Zeus all the way at the top hitting a ward. Keria's ready to go in. Keria goes in. Zeus has flash. But Elk just kites. And I mean, Jun's there too with flash and Lamb's Respite. They can't do it. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to do. Now, what's really weird is that they get the notification that Dragon has been slain. Ready? Well, they not until actually, never mind. Sorry. They get the notification after they've actually made the decision to go. I think if they got the notification, they would have stayed on the Baron. But they already made the decision to go. But I think it's weird. I mean, they don't know where Kindred is. It's weird because Keria would be able to see there's no Kindred. The minimap, too. They can see. And then after this, they just lose the game. There's nothing that they can do. I mean, what can they do? We literally watched them do nothing. We watched a Kennen have a 60-70 CS lead with multiple plates be unable to do anything inside of the game. We watched a Maokai super far ahead of the Kindred, and nothing could actually happen in the game. We watched a super lucky early 3v3 end up going super fortunate for T1. The draft was really bad. It was really bad. They knew they couldn't fight any of the dragons. When your draft is predicated on having to dominate all of the lanes, but that is not how practical the lanes actually are, it's just not good. All right, let's turn on Twitch chat.